improving your spindle uptime. Now, whether you're in an OEM manufacturer or you're in a job shop, stay tuned. I wanted to go over some tips and tricks for clustering parts. Now, if you've been online looking around for more solutions, you may recognize the website behind me. I, of course, am today going to be showing you a little bit about MiteeBite.com. I love their website. One of the reasons is they have application photos. Another reason is if you go here to their social channels, they've got more application photos. And it's great to have ideas when we have a lot of parts coming through to kind of stimulate the brain. And they've got a bunch of applications here where you are able to find different ways to hold different parts. Now, some of you might be tuning out because you think this only applies to OEM. However, I promise there are principles you can employ at a job shop to still translate over many jobs instead of getting very specific. Some of the options here, they're on horizontal tombstones. Now, it does not mean we can only do these on horizontal tombstones. These applications can be taken to verticals in a pallet change type system. Now, it doesn't mean you need a pallet changer. There's other solutions for that I'm going to touch on a little later in this video. Whether you're running bigger casings like this, or you're running a horizontal and you're trying to cluster parts so you can get milling into multiple stations at the same time, it's always a great idea to consider clustering. Of course, if you're doing a very small run, you might want to think about it a little bit differently than these very finite solutions here. One of my favorites, of course, is the pit bull clamp. It's extremely versatile, low profile. Honestly, using these clamps a lot of the time, I just order the stock a little bit higher so I could hit 5 sides of the part, flip it over, face it off, finish whatever I needed to do on the back side. Here is another example. This time they're just holding the fixture in vices, which is a solution instead of removing the vices to set up your vices to accept fixtures. Looking at this fixture setup here, you'll see they've got the finished parts up there. These ones are empty. Something to consider here is whatever material you're using in that size, it doesn't have to be the same part. I've got some more examples of those. Here's an example on a rotary fixture where they've got it lined up. They've actually got different part families on each side of the rotary. Again, when you're in a certain work size, I had a lot of times where parts would come in and I could use technically slightly smaller stock. When you're talking about saving, an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch worth of aluminum, but adding to your setup time and your processing time, it's not always an equal trade. When you can bulk cut a bunch of material or have a fixture like this that accepts certain material sizes, there's a benefit to not always shaving the most material out of the job. It's one of those penny wise, pound foolish kind of situations. This is a video you can find on the Mitee Bite YouTube channel. It goes over it a little bit more. I wanted to point out a couple things here. So you can see over here on the left-hand side, they've got ID clamping mandrels. Now they have the top lock version, so you'd need to have a through hole here. However, they also have a side lock version where you can lock it from the side. You'll notice they've also got rail spots here and then the previous part completed down here. But watch here as they pick up this rail of material and then you lock it in. Now, regardless of what parts you're working on, if you have a strip of aluminum and you come down and you make all your little tiny widgets out of a rail, then you can just pull them out. And if you've onion skinned them, then you can just pull them off and deburr them or have someone processing them, putting them into another operation to finish. A lot of the time, parts that you choose to do this with, it's best to have them complete, done in one, counterbored. So like if you're drilling, tapping, counterboring from the top side of a part, making a T-nut or a shape like they've got in the background here, it's a great solution to save you time and again, cluster more parts. You might be thinking, Arthur, that's great, but it still leaves my spindle not running and my door open for a long time while I'm messing with all these Allen keys. And you'd be absolutely right. Something to consider in those cases is a quick change 0-point system like Vero. I talk about Vero a lot because it's the absolute fastest, and the biggest way I help customers save money is by reducing their spindle downtime. I do that by focusing on doing all the work outside of the machine possible. So you can see there, Schunk sells pre-made pallets. However, you can also buy the pins on the bottom and make your own. You can put these pins into any fixture you want, including examples like I was just going over with the different Mitee Bite clamp. The repeatability at 0.005 mil means you never have to really worry. The beauty of a system like this, while you have the quick changes, you literally open the door, you pull the pallet off. You put down the pallet because you run double pallets, and you close the doors, hit cycle start. After that, you're messing around with all the work holding, all the fixturing, everything else. If you've got raw stock and you've got a lot of clips like the Mitee Bite or a rail set up, then that gives you the benefit of being able to clean that off and have everything seated and clamped just right with the pressure. If, however, you have a high handling finesse mounting system for a second, third, or fourth operation, it gives you time to do that while the doors are closed and the spindle's turning and earning you cash. This is a great way to maximize your spindle uptime. You could run your machines at 70, 60% uptime and then invest money into a new machine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, the first stop is to check, am I maximizing the possible uptime on the current machine? If you have nothing but verticals and horizontals with 3 and 4 axis and you're looking to add a 5 axis plus machine, it totally makes sense to focus investing on that to increase your capacity. However, if you've got a lot of machine already and you've got open tables, there are ways you can fixture to improve your spindle uptime and reduce your part handling. Whatever you can do to put more money in your pocket first before a capital equipment expenditure, I'm gonna help you do. Of course, that comes with a caveat: do not tell my boss. I like to share different ideas and ways to improve spindle uptime because yes, you know what, there's a bunch of different tools out there. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat, if you will. The one consistent rule is if you're putting all this money in tooling in, but your door is open and you're getting 50, 60, maybe 70% uptime on your spindle, there's other places you can gain more money. Thanks for checking out this video. Let me know what you think. Does this help you spark any ideas? If you want to start a conversation, send me a message. This is the stuff I'm very passionate about. Until next time, keep your spindle turning and earning.